What's up guys? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Bonnie and this is my channel where I talk about all things lifestyle and DIY. So if you're interested in either of those, make sure you hit subscribe and turn on those notifications. But today I'm going to show you guys how I made this DIY Among Us piñata for my son's birthday. So if you want to see that, just keep watching. So I just want to tell you guys that I had no idea what I was doing when I first started this project. I have never made a piñata before, but it seemed pretty straightforward. So you're going to need a hot glue gun, some hot glue sticks, a pencil, some scissors, and some tape. And then I just used some birthday streamer and a big box that I got from an Amazon package. So the first thing that you're gonna do is cut open your box so that you have some nice flat pieces to work with for the frame of your piñata. Be careful when you're using a box cutter because they can be very sharp. I went ahead and I removed some of the side pieces because they were kind of just hanging there and I will not need them for this project. Then I went onto Pinterest and I found a little Among Us crewmate character so that I could go ahead and draw the general shape of its body. It does not have to be perfect. My stick figures really suck, so getting the perfect shape for this is really hard for me. So you can see that I rework it several times just to make sure that I can get it as close to perfect as I can get. And here is what my little guy looks like. I tried to get him as proportionate as I possibly could, and for freehanding, I don't think it's too bad. Now I'm gonna go ahead and take my box cutter and just go ahead and cut around the shape that I drew. It should be fairly easy for you to pop it out of the cardboard, but if it's giving you a hard time, just go back over it with the box cutter to get in any spots that might be still connected. Now I'm just gonna go ahead and take the shape that I just cut out and trace it onto another side of the cardboard so I can make the other side of the piñata. Again, I'm gonna go ahead and take my box cutter and just cut out the same shape that I did before. So what I'm doing now is I'm cutting out strips that are going to be the sides of the piñata, and this is where you can determine how thick or thin you want your piñata to be. I would say I cut mine to be about 2.5 inches thick. And then I went ahead and started bending it just to make sure that I'll be able to form it to the shape of the piñata easier. And then I used that same strip to give me a little guide to make a couple more strips just to make sure that I had enough to go around the entire piñata. So now what I'm doing is I'm just taking one of the sides and attaching it to one of the body shapes. And I'm just attaching it right now with Scotch tape. Once I get to the end of one of the sides of the cardboard, I just add another side that I had cut out and make sure that I tape it together really well so that it doesn't fall apart. Now that I have all of the sides attached to one side of the body, I'm gonna go ahead and take my hot glue gun to kind of give it a little reinforcement because just tape alone was feeling a little bit flimsy for me, and I do want this piñata to last more than one hit. Now I'm going to attach the other side of the piñata with some more hot glue. Once the whole body has been hot glued, I'm gonna go ahead and tape it all the way around just like I did the other side. So now that it's all taped up, I can go ahead and start adding the streamer to the piñata. I went ahead and I started with the legs first because they were separated, and when I layered them, I probably laid the next piece about an inch or half an inch above the other one, just so that there was nothing showing in between the layers, but that they were overlapping each other. As soon as the legs were done, it was a lot easier because I could just pull the whole strand all the way across the body and then cut it off on the ends. Once I had one side entirely covered, I went and I started making the fringes for the piñata just by taking scissors and cutting little slices into the streamer. So this is what the fringe looks like up close. I started getting lazy towards the top and started cutting my fringes a little bit wider, but I think it looks really cool so far, so I'm just gonna keep working. So now I'm gonna go ahead and work on the sides of the piñata. I apologize now for the really horrible filming because unfortunately I was cut off on my camera screen, but I just went around the piñata instead of going across it like I did the one side of the piñata. So I just kind of wrapped it around and hot glued it wherever it needed to be hot glued just to keep the streamer in place. It took me about 3 widths of streamer to cover the entire side of the piñata. So I went ahead and found some string and some duct tape in my craft box, and now I'm gonna go ahead and cut out the little slit or slot for the candy to go into. I have no idea like proper placement for a piñata, but I went ahead and I cut it open on the back side because that's all I had open at this time, and I just used the box cutter to do that. So now I'm gonna cut out the string where you're going to be able to hang the piñata from. And I found this string from my craft box, but I went ahead and I cut 3 layers just to make it a little more sturdy and hopefully not fall apart when the first kid hits the piñata. After I cut it, I tied 2 knots on each end just to make sure that the strings didn't fall apart. And after that was done, I placed it where I wanted the string to go, and I kind of just layered some hot glue onto it. And then after that, I put some duct tape over it, and I'm pretty sure I probably should have waited until the hot glue dried, but oh well. Now that I have the little spot for the candy to go into and a little hook for you to hang it from, I can go ahead and start finishing up the backside of the piñata by adding the streamers. Once that was all on there, I started cutting up the fringes again. And as soon as I reached the slot for the candy, I just took my scissors and I cut all the way up the streamers and cut over so that the flap would be able to open with no issues. After I was done cutting up all of the fringes, I just used a piece of white printer paper to draw out the goggles or the eyes for the crewmate. Not entirely sure what you want to call it, but I just used that to trace one so that I would be able to use it as a stencil for something else. I used the white one as a guide for the black outline that was going to be the back side of the goggle. So I drew that onto a black piece of cardstock and then I cut that out, and now I'm using hot glue to attach it. Now comes the most time-consuming and tedious, in my opinion, part of the entire project. I am going to use the cardstock and try to outline the shape as best as I can so it can look just like one of the Among Us characters. Now I'm going to use that stencil that I made a little while ago and cut out the white part of the goggles to complete the look. And there you guys have it, your very own Among Us pinata. I am super proud of the way this turned out, especially since I had no idea what I was doing. But if you guys like this video, make sure you hit that thumbs up, and I will see you guys next time.